Hey, everybody, welcome to the Holding Priority podcast. On today's episode, we're going to go over the commander set cards from the commander decks that are in Modern Horizons 3.
Yep. What commanders are good, cool, interesting type of stuff.
If the decks hold up themselves in CEDH, or if they just have pieces that will go into other decks.
Yeah, I think this one will be interesting as far as new and upcomings.
Yep. All right, let's go into the shuffle up. Shuffle up is where we read your comments, talk about what we've seen with the podcast, kind of give you guys updates on our lives around Commander. We are filming this about a week before pre-release, so haven't had any new comments yet. But if you put in a review, leave a comment, YouTube, Spotify, Audible, really anywhere, we will see it and we will read it on the podcast. Would love to hear your feedback. Anything that we've said that you thought was cool, anything that you really agree with what we've said, and also if you think that we said something wrong, you're welcome to say that. We're not wrong. No, I'm just kidding. It's nice to hear perspectives, especially with these card reviews.
I can definitely butcher some names.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is weird because like in comments, how are you gonna say like, well, you said Disa the Restless wrong. It's Disa the Restless.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, I'm not looking at the commander cards. I don't really think that I will be picking up anything other than the Eldrazi and the Everything deck, which we'll go into these. Those are the two I picked up. Other two, Energy, Disa, eh.
Yeah, I think the big hitter is probably the Eldrazi, but any Eldrazi deck is gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be big.
Yeah, I don't think any of these I'm personally going to try to make a CDH deck around, but if you guys are brewing it and I'm wrong, or if the secondary commander is you're just really excited about and you're building a deck, like please share the Moxfield link. Just tell us why it's great. Like I'd love to see it.
Or if it breaks a current deck,
Yeah,
that'd be cool too.
Cool. All right. Well, again, please like, comment, subscribe, show your friends the podcast. Like we're really wanting to grow this thing. As it grows, we'll get better equipment, really make the podcast way better. And then with the card reviews, as always, we will put them out in podcast form. We're definitely going to try to do a good job at reading the card before we go in. So it should be something that you can completely listen to in audio and not need the visual component. However, if you do want the visual component, it will be on our YouTube at Holding Priority. So if you want to look at the card while we're talking about it, please still, like, comment the podcast, but go over to the YouTube video. And if you are on the YouTube video from the podcast, let us know that you were listening to the podcast, came over to YouTube, and what platform you're listening to the podcast on. That's always really interesting.
Yeah, or which one you prefer.
Or what country you're from.
That's always
cool. Yeah, we saw some people, 3 people in Austria listen to the podcast all in one day. So I hope that was like a pod that put us on while they were playing, and then a couple people from the pod were like, I'm gonna listen to some other stuff. So
yeah.
All right, let's launch into the card review. We're gonna start off with Disa the Restless. She is the face commander of the Jund deck. She's 2 black, red, green, legendary creature, human scout. And I'm gonna completely butcher this creature type. So whenever I'm just gonna Lhurgoyf. Lurgoyf.
I think it's a Lurgoyf.
Permanent card is put into your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield. Put it on the battlefield. When one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a Tormagoyf token. It's a 5/6. Tormagoyf is really interesting just for some context because it was one of the first cards that breached over, I think it was over $100 that was a 4 of because it was so good. So it's one of those cards that everybody looks back and they're like, this was $100 card when it came out. And now it costs $1. And now it's a token. So it's like 10 cents. It's like you create a token of a card that when it came out it was $100, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, it shows you the evolution of the format and
Yeah.
different formats.
Yeah. This is a typal, Lurgoyf typal. Um, it's one of those cards that I think Primal Vigor, if you lets you mill your entire deck if it's all permanents, and then you can put every no, it lets you put them to the battlefield. But if you Hermit Druid your deck, every Lurgoyf permanent card that you mill just goes onto the battlefield. And then you pass, and then you die. So
I mean, with a concordant or something, I can see some shenanigans going in and swinging out for crazy damage. I believe that the Lurgoyfs are bigger creatures, so
yeah, they got a lot of new ones printed in this set. I don't know if there's a lot of until this card came out. I don't think that there was a lot of support for them. So I think somebody that really wanted to build a Lurgoyf casual deck can build a really good one. But as far as CDH, I don't see this being an impactful card.
I don't either. I do see that even discard or milling your entire library isn't great.
Mm-hmm.
You probably want to mill a couple of cards because
Yeah.
whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you can create a Termagoyf token.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have like two or three and then swing them out and then get a couple of tokens and just overwhelm, like swarm.
Yeah.
You're going wide, it looks like.
And something that like I always look for in a CDH commander, just to give some insight in the process of like what my review is. If I put out a Jeweled Lotus, what does that do? Which with Disa, because she's two colorless, black, red, green, a green, a red on the field, and then a Jeweled Lotus gets her out. But she's also Corvold colors, and Corvold colors and same CMC is just way better. The other thing that I want to see on a CDH commander is the moment that she comes out, she has an impact on the board state. And with her, she's just a 5/6.
Yeah, to me, a really good optimal commander has to either draw you cards, have a crazy amount of value that it provides when it comes out, or a win con. And a
Yeah,
lot of them need two
yeah,
of the
and
three.
not to just keep talking about Atali, but Atali is 7, so it's two more than this. But Atali is an example and an extreme example of I summon Atali and the game might end. Like this one is I pay 5. Really, at the end of the day, all I get is a 5/6 with Disa. If I can follow it up with some mill, I might get some more creatures on the grave or like on the battlefield. But yeah, I think she's a really good casual commander. I think she's a high power casual commander.
I think if you have all of these Lurigoyfs in a box somewhere and you're like, you know what, I want to make a tribal, I could see it.
Typal.
Typal.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, typal. However, a deck based around one type.
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, I think that it's just going to be a fun card.
I think they're actually. I think I actually might be wrong with Typal. I think it's Kindred now too. I think
Kindred.
Yeah.
Well, I've been playing a while, and
Yeah. Same.
again, some old habits die hard.
Yeah. I don't even
It
know.
would be a deck based around a certain type.
Yeah. Cool. Omo, Queen of Vesuvia, is the next face commander. She's 2, a green and a blue, legendary creature, shapeshifter, noble. When Omo, Queen of Vesuva, enters the battlefield or attacks, put an everything counter on each of up to one target land and up to one target creature. Each land with an everything counter on it is every land in addition to its other types. Each non-land creature with an everything counter on it is every creature type.
So I did hear you say a green it's a green or a blue.
Yeah.
It's a very specific, either or one.
So she's a Simic commander, but she's 3 CMC. So again, back to the insight. Literally, Jeweled Lotus gets her out for 0
Yeah.
turn 1.
Yeah, great. And it's quite a bit of value if you think about it. I don't know if Commander is going to be as spicy as the fact that it just drops out these tokens, or not these tokens, these counters.
Yeah.
So like, what is that counter CEDH commander? I don't know if you can use it though.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, because it's uh Luminous Engine. I always forget his name, but he's white. He's white, black, green.
White,
Tyam.
black,
Yeah,
green.
yeah. I know who
Okay.
you're talking about.
Yeah, Tyam.
Yeah,
Nope. I stand corrected.
yeah.
Interesting though.
So, number one, if you play her and you don't have an everything bagel token, that is your token for everything, she turns everything into everything bagels. I think she's a really interesting deck. I think the precon is a lot of fun. If I was just looking for a casual deck to play, this would be my pick. I think she could break a lot of things because really at the end of the day, you're looking for a commander that can be a combo piece in the command zone. I'm sure there's a combo that when she comes into play, she puts an everything counter on something, and then that thing can go off and win the game. If that's the case, I think we might see her as a Simic CDH commander. I just don't know what that thing would be and if that thing is good. I think she has potential because the thing I like about her is you cast her for 3, you immediately get that everything counter on each of up to one target land and one creature.
I do feel like if you play her though, you need to have custom like little bagel counters.
Oh yeah, you make them out of clay and they're everything
you
bagels.
have
Yeah.
you have to have
And you need like 12 of them. Yeah.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah. There's also like not sponsored, but the Infinite token, they have tokens that are empty that you could actually just draw and everything bagel
That's
on.
funny.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a broken commander.
Hmm.
I do feel like it's really good tech. Like
Yeah.
you'll be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You are in Simic, so how much, how many different colored lands are you gonna need? But um,
Yeah, my vote is right now. She is not a CDH commander. However, her effect is strong enough that every card they ever print, they need to make sure it doesn't go infinite with her.
yeah, I see that.
So I would say just because I don't know what combo would work with her, not currently. However, I would see that in the future because she comes out for free with Jeweled Lotus, very easy to get turn 1. Whenever she comes out, she has immediate effect. If all you have on the field is a land, you still get that everything counter on the land. So she requires very little setup. I think she's cool and casual. I think she has potential in CDH, but I do not think that she is currently a CDH commander.
Yeah. Uh, just in a general card, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely something that I like cards that are like every time Magic prints a card, they have to have a picture of her up and go, does this break with Omo?
This is the most wanted card
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Do we know what stops this?
Yeah.
No, that's funny.
And also, like, yeah, I'm sure that they probably have a wall that's just like, when you design cards, look at every single one of these and go, does it break the game?
That's funny.
I also just like that we have more lore about Vesuva. I like that it started out with a card and they've been building the story throughout. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's two chicks that are one chick. That is like every dude's dream. So I'm gonna leave it there. This is a family podcast. I mean, having two moms would be cool, right? That's what we're talking about. All right, bye. Satya Etherflux Genius. One colorless, blue, red, white. Menace, haste, legendary creature, human artificer. 3/5. He has menace and haste. Whenever Satya Etherflux Genius attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-creature you control. Wait. Sorry, I gotta read that again. Whenever Satya Etherflux Genius attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-token creature you control. You get 2 energy counters. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice that token unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana. Okay.
So more dockside shenanigans? Like I I don't know if it really breaks the game, but it is kind of funny that you could have Dockside out, swing with this guy, because he has haste. You summon him the next turn,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you have another Dockside trigger.
Yeah, so I vote bad for CDH.
Nah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeskai has a hard time, other than a very specific few cards, anyway.
Yeah, like if we're talking about the dream scenario where you drop a dockside and then you summon him, you're wasting 4 mana on him because he's blue, red, and white. So like, I mean, best case you're wasting 3 treasures or 3 color producing to get him out, and then you go, all right, I have a dockside. I am going to move to combat. Does anybody have anything to say about either my dockside or Sataya as I move to combat?
Yeah,
Please stop me, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely Telescope.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes those go through. I mean,
Yeah, that is true. I would like to see a Jeskai commander that I look at and I'm like, I'm afraid of this thing. It hasn't happened yet. Elsha of the Infinite is kind of the closest where I'm like, oh yeah, if someone tries to put out a divining top, I need to counter that.
I do feel like the energy part of this is kind of lackluster, just because, like, once you summon the creature, it's going to be ETB that you're looking for anyway,
Yeah.
usually, or an attack trigger. I could see that. Um, I don't think that this is really gonna break this deck.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a Mardu commander that it's different colors, so like, take this with a grain of salt, but it's black, red, white. I think Ishin, two suns or whatever, that he doubles attack triggers.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like he's not even like that sounds like a broken effect and he's not even CDH. This guy that just makes a copy. And
And and realistically, like, you can get very similar effects for only one of the color identity. Like, I feel
yeah.
like red can kind of drop that same type of an effect.
Yeah, I mean the
Um,
and Atali runs several of them that
yeah.
are mono red.
Again, you could do shenanigans with it. I
Mm-hmm.
just, is it most optimal? I don't think so.
Yeah, there's other cards that are very similar mana value that have a much better effect that don't lock you into energy. And I mean, maybe you don't care about energy. Maybe you just run a bunch of things that have on attack triggers and on death triggers. But yeah, I don't. I could be wrong, but I just don't see this guy having any effect on CDH.
Not on high high levels of commander. No.
Yeah, and then best for last, uh, Ulalek used atrocity. Um, Either a colorless or a white. Well, white, blue, black, red, green, but they're dual colors, so you can either cast 5 white for or 5 colorless for him, or rainbow. So white, blue, black, green, red. So for 5 colorless, which is how you're going to get him out in CDH, more than likely. Devoid, this card has no color, so on the stack and on the battlefield, it has no color. Whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, copy all spells you control, then copy all other activated and trigger abilities you control. You may choose new targets for the copies. He is a 2/5.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you can run every card that's ever been printed in Ulalek. You have no limit on what card you can put on the deck. And if you tap your Soul Ring, everything that's on the stack that you control, you can just copy it all. So let's say you go for Thassa's, and everybody's like, no, I do not want Thassa to resolve.
Oh,
And
counter.
there's this long stack where everybody fights and stops. And you go, okay, flash in an Eldrazi spell. An Eldrazi spell. So it can be the colorless one colorless mana that destroys target multicolored permanent or counters it. And then you can go, all right, well, now that you guys have exhausted yourself, I'm going to pay 2. Let's try Thassa again. I have a copy and a copy of Taint Pact because it's just all spells on the stack and all triggered abilities you control. So you could even cast Thassa, trigger ability of Thassa
On the
on the
stack.
stack,
Ooh, spicy.
and then let everybody do all of their stuff, and then cast a colorless Eldrazi spell. Pay 2 more, which I mean is a lot. You know, if you have 3 mana, you probably had a potential for another counter. You know, but you can just go, okay, well, you guys countered the heck out of this, but now I'm making a new stack on top of it. You know?
Yeah. It also for 4, you could have 2 dockside enter the battlefield. You could also
Mm,
have I mean, it's all colors, so as long as you hit copy it as the spell is on the stack,
yeah.
it'll enter in.
Yeah, and mana abilities can't be copied, so you can't tap Devoted Druid, I think is the name, that gives you a color, like color for every permanent. Not Devoted Druid, I don't know why I'm like the elf that you tap and it gives you a color for every permanent of the color.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Bloom Tender.
Yeah, you can't tap Bloom Tender and then pay 2 colorless, tap your Soul Ring and then get 10 colored mana.
But no, on the
Yeah, yeah.
stack, you could do some silly stuff. Like,
Yeah.
imagine, I mean, even if on the stack, all you do is pay a soul ring to copy a Draneth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, is Draneth legendary? He might be legendary.
I don't think so.
I,
Yeah, because people, no, he's not, because people would run him as a commander,
oh,
100%.
you
Yeah,
think so?
yeah,
That would be silly.
yeah,
But I mean, you could have 2 of them,
yeah.
which is, it changes from I need a kill spell to I need to wipe the field.
Mm-hmm.
And very quickly.
Yeah, and you do have to stack an Eldrazi spell on top of it, but you also double that Eldrazi spell. The other thing that's crazy about Ulalek, Ulalek, yeah, is 5 colorless gets him out. Like you could,
I didn't think about
yeah,
that.
like there's a lot of turns where I could get 5 colorless very easily on turn 2. It would be hard on turn 1, but like turn 2. The only thing about Ulek is you can't use Jeweled Lotus because when you tap Jeweled Lotus, you have to pick a color. Colorless is not a color,
You can't use Jeweled Lotus.
but you can use Lotus Petal.
Well,
You use Soul Ring. You can use
you
Mana
can yeah,
Crypt.
you
Yeah,
can Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Grail Monolith. I would run every single one of those,
yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest, because it's almost all of it. You
yeah.
know.
Like, let's say I sit down at a table and I see Ulek get flopped whenever we're doing mulligans. I'm scared. like,
Yeah,
like every card that has ever been run in the game, like I do not want to see Ulek be a CEDH commander. However, I do think people will try to run him because people already try to run Eldrazi. Eldrazi are just cool. But I am very interested to see what people do with this shell.
and I could be wrong, but out of all of the ones we've seen so far,
Yeah,
I think that this has the biggest potential
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because it has the value realistically,
yeah.
and it's easy to come out. Like it's really not too hard to summon that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's interesting. I think that would be a very high powered casual with potential of top tier.
Yeah,
I don't know if it beats Blue Farm or Sisay in a move,
yeah.
but I think that it can do some very nasty things.
I think the only challenge that you'll have is layering an Eldrazi spell on top of the stack that you want to copy. But it's doable. Like,
I think that that's also there's going to be very specific ones you use,
yeah.
to be
I
honest.
mean, it's also when you cast an Eldrazi spell because you don't care if it resolves. Um, Emrakul is 13, goes down as you have permanents. You cast Emrakul, and then you pay two. You get to take two people's turns for them. You get two 13/13.
Ah,
Like,
silly.
I think Emrakul is legendary, but still, like,
I mean, who they'll both ETB at the same time, right?
well, it's not ETB, it's not cast. It's even better. So once I cast Emrakul, I really don't care if it resolves. Like, I still get the on cast. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Well, a lot of Eldrazi spells have on cast, where it's like I cast this Eldrazi, I do not care if it resolves. Counter it, like, you know.
Would that be activated and triggered? That'd be considered a triggered ability. So
Because
it could copy.
yeah, activated is the easy way to tell activated is it says pay this and then there's a colon.
Yeah.
So that's an activated, but triggers are when um stuff like that.
But what I'm saying is even on the stack it would be it'd
Mm-hmm.
be triggered.
Yeah, so Emrakul is I pay 13 at most. I put Emrakul on the stack, 13/13. When you cast it, the trigger goes on and it's targeted an opponent. You take their next turn as if you were them. They get an extra turn after. But
That's
still,
silly.
you don't need an extra turn after you take somebody's turn. Like,
That's funny.
it's a like I can't win right now, but I think you are going to win. So let me take your win from you.
Yeah, out of all of the ones so far, this is definitely the monster.
Yeah, yeah. I'm afraid of this one. So those were the face commanders. After that, it's just going to be good cards that we see in the decks. This is the second commander in the Jun set, Karam the Undertaker. It's one colorless black, red, green legendary creature, human warrior. Karam the Undertaker gets +X/+O, where X is the greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. All graveyards. Whenever Koram attacks, each player mills a card. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that were put there from libraries this turn. 0/5, but it's like Ragavan on steroids. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. In CEDH, you really don't want to mill people's cards. You don't want to give people Underworld Breach fodder and, reanimate fodder. But if you can cast those spells, you do have to pay the mana as is. So uh, if I mill a Thassa's, I need to find a way to pay 2 blue. So there is that restriction. I don't really think it will be a CDH commander, but I do think it has potential. Also, I mean, this is kind of a meme at this point, but Nujila card, it's a warrior.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I don't see it being in heavy like in high plays, but
Yeah,
I do think that the flavor is a little spicy on the card.
yeah. This would be a card where if I went to a tournament tomorrow and somebody flipped and showed that they were playing Karam the Undertaker, I would go, this person is not a threat, or this person is going to be the threat. There is no in between there. Like,
Yeah, I think I'd be shuffling for a creature counter or creature kill.
yeah. Like, this is going to be a deck that either somebody just thought it was cool and they built it and it's not going to do anything, or this person knows something I don't and they're just going to romp us. Like,
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one to identify off of the flip for sure.
yeah. Oh, I do not even know. Geode, Moog Ancient.
I think he did well with that one.
Yeah, the moment I saw it, I was scared, and that came out of my mouth, and I was just like,
I was going to say Hyode, but that
yeah,
might be wrong.
peyote, Moog. Two colorless, green, blue, legendary creature, elemental. When Geode Moog Ancient enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game.
Whoa.
At the beginning of each combat, land creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Geode's power. It is a 2/4. So, you know, just by my own criteria, Jeweled Lotus and a blue gets it out. So turn one gets it out. You get a 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token. So he gives you a free land.
Yeah.
It's a forest, so it will tap for green.
Okay.
It is affected by summoning sickness, so you don't get the green right away. But if you have a blue, a jeweled lotus, you start the game with Coyote out, and you get a green. So in your next turn, you have a 2/4 creature that can swing, and you have a blue and a green on the battlefield from your turn 1.
And it's in kitten colors
Yeah.
because it's ETB for the thing. So on enter the battlefield, it creates the token.
Yep.
So if you were to start blinking it with kitten,
Mm-hmm.
you could see multiple creatures,
Yeah.
on that turn. Now, if you cast it a few times, maybe in those colors, I don't see a sack outlet really, but if you were able to, possibly pump this up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
you could swing out with a concordant.
Yeah. It's a if I buff this creature, all of my creatures are buffed. I've seen a lot of conversations on Twitter about this one. This is another one that was kind of pushed at me a whole bunch. I do not see it being a CDH viable one. I think it's a really fun high powered casual commander. Again, like it's cool. It kind of meets the criteria that I normally look for, but it's at the beginning of each combat, so you just get a whole bunch of things and go, all right, I'm gonna buff Geode. Does anybody have anything to say to it? I'm moving to combat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't combat trick Geode, and then get the buff because at the beginning of combat, so you can't combat trick them, get them bigger, and everything swing harder. Also, you're restricted to land creatures, so you have to build a deck that cares about lands, and CDH only wants to run 28 lands. So
That's fair. I see kitten being a staple for this. I do see all of those big pump spells being part of it with
yeah,
with a concordant crossroads or some kind of haste enabler.
yeah, and
I
I've seen combo cards like one of the Nissa planeswalkers is whenever you tap a forest, you get 2 green.
mm,
And then there's the new creature that whenever you bestow a creature, if it has landfall and you pay 2, and if you pay 2, you get a copy of that creature.
mm,
So you bestow it on your creature. Whenever a forest comes in, you may pay 2. So you tap that forest, it gives you 2. You create another forest, you tap that forest, it gives you 2. And it goes infinite to where you have infinite tapped forests. How does that win? I don't know.
well, with this they would be creatures and you could swing out.
But you have to tap the forest to get the mana.
Oh, okay.
So it's infinite tapped forest creatures.
So there is another Simic commander that does landfall. I can't think of the name right now. I can see it. It reminds me of the basilisk from Harry Potter. But
I mean, Jeweled Lotus too. Like, would just give you infinite mana.
mm,
Like, it has potential, but when in CDH you're looking for very efficient combos, and if your combo involves a planeswalker, that's like 4 to 6 mana. Like, like
well, no, it's a creature. It's
yeah. But you in order to start that combo, you have to have Nissa, so
oh,
that
okay,
taps for
makes
2,
sense. Yeah.
and then same thing where like there's every creature like Nyx Bloom Ancient, anything that makes your lands tap for double is around 6. So you have to start the combo by having a 6 cost thing on board. It makes infinite tapped creatures, and then you have to figure out how to untap them. Which there are green cards that untap all creatures. I mean, there's blue cards that do it too, but seems
It
seems
seems
too involved to be CDH.
yeah,
Very cool,
a
but
lot
too
of a lot
involved.
of
Yeah,
setup, but definitely some good tech
yeah.
for that type of deck. Like I said, I see Kitten being probably like holding hands with this thing, but yeah.
Yeah, the thing about Kitten too is, oh no, they're affected by summoning sickness. So you
What? Yeah,
couldn't tap them. You'd have to have a concordant out
yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Concordance going to be part of it. Like
So you
in a
need
perfect world, you summon, or you either have kitten on field, you summon this, and then you play concordant and blink it,
yeah.
and then you have 2 mana that's able to be used this turn.
Yeah, but then you have 3 cards to invest in the combo to get it started, and then 1 card that you need to close it
Yeah,
too. So like,
I got you.
yeah, it's good, a lot of fun. I just don't think it's efficient enough. But it's another one of those where I would like somebody would flip that, and I'm like, okay, this person's gonna do nothing the entire game, or they're going to steamroll us. Like,
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep it off the field
yeah,
or counter it.
yeah. Yeah, and like the thing where it's like, okay, well, if it comes out and somebody can't counter it, I have an extra land, you know? Like, I get the 1 mana that will go into the tax, like, already. Yeah.
Or a blocker.
Yeah. And those are the end of the face commanders and secondary commanders. All of them have a portrait picture, so there's cool art of them if you want to look them up. These are just going to be the cards that we saw in the commander decks that we thought are good enough to possibly go into decks that already exist or strengthen other decks. So this is Eldrazi Confluence, 2 colorless. I'm just gonna call these wastes. They're colorless, but they have to be colorless. So 2 colorless waste. Instant. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. Exile target non-land permanent. Then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Create a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token with sacrifice this creature. Add waste.
So just to me, you're gonna pick either the first one or the third one, right?
Yeah, this is I almost said an Eldrazi card. This is a
Atali.
Italia. Yeah, I was just like,
I'm with you.
I've been talking about Eldrazi so long I don't even remember my commander's name. Like, for 4, and then 2 of them need to be colorless, which seems like a restriction, but 2 color commanders run so many lands that tap for colorless, or you spend a life and get a red or a green. I would have no problem paying the colorless, and I would get 3 Atali triggers for 4. Like, I run Heat Shimmer that gives me 1 for 3, for 3 mana. If I hit Eldrazi Confluence as my first flip, that's probably a game
Yeah,
lost
that's
for
over.
everyone involved but me. Like,
That game's over.
and I get, and like, it would be good if it was literally just do this 3 times, exile target non-land permanent. I get to choose. So like, if there's a problem creature, I get to take care of it and then also get 2 Atali triggers. If
Silly.
if I need if I go, oh, I need a colorless mana for something, along with 2 Atali triggers, I can do that. Like,
Yeah. I don't really think the other two abilities are not worth mentioning, but I don't feel like they don't really hold a candle to the middle ability, which is exile target non-land permanent and then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control.
yeah,
Like that's so much value
yeah,
for decks like Atali or even a dockside or I mean multiple cards.
and this is me maybe reading it how I want to. I don't really know how the sequencing works with these module spells, but if there is a Dranath Magistrate on board, can I pick target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn? That happened first, and then I'm not oh yeah, I'm casting Atali triggers from exile. Yeah, so I would choose get rid of Dranath, flicker Atali twice. It would all happen at once.
Hmm.
The Atali triggers would go on stack. It would go away, and then I would get 2 Atali triggers. So I would remove Dranath and then get 2 Atali
That's
triggers.
silly.
Yeah, like, it's good. I'm sure other Flicker decks care about it because exile target non-land permanent. So it also works with Dahada, but
Yeah.
you can't stack Dahada's abilities through all of those. So
No.
yeah, I would only flicker once. But I mean, Dahada will give you 4 treasures, so you would turn 4 mana into 4 treasures.
Hmm.
I'm sure other things care about it, but I care about Atali, so and that's what I'm afraid of right now. So
If I see you flip that,
just
that's
scoop.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's done.
like yeah, we do need to play it out in a tournament, but honestly, it's probably time to scoop. Like it's
Yeah.
like you've lost, you just don't know it yet. Eldritch immunity, 1 waste, kindred instant Eldrazi. Target creature you control gains protection from each color until end of turn. You can overload it for 4 and a colorless to where every creature you control gets protection from each color until end of turn.
So, blasphemous act
Yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah, because it's
Uh,
damage. Yeah,
um, Fire Covenant
yeah,
that wouldn't
because
work
it would
either.
target. Yeah,
It doesn't stop something like
cyclonic
a Psych
rift.
Rift,
Yeah,
however,
or damnation,
or Damnation or
toxic deluge. Yeah,
Deluge, but it's for one,
yeah.
and you could do it on your commander.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where this spell is going to go, is to protect one. I don't see it being overloaded very often,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's a
also
thing.
an Eldrazi spell that costs 1 that I can put on the stack, and then with the one that we talked about, pay 2 more and duplicate everything on the stack.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the thing that I thought about when I saw it was like, oh, it enables the combo I want to do with, the fused monstrosity.
Yeah,
Like,
for one. Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. I don't think that there's too much to say about this other than like, good. Like,
Yeah, definitely good. I don't think it's as good because it can't stop some of the other overloaded or all purpose spells. Like if they target everything or don't target, they just bring back every or force everything to do something.
yeah.
However, it's decent.
Yeah, it stops the swords. It for decks that care about their commander, not bad.
And if it's the Eldrazi, they're all expensive. So
Yeah,
for one, you're able to kind of give it an extra layer of protection,
yeah.
which is solid.
Like I could see Tivit playing this. I could see big commander that. Well, I mean, Atali. I don't really have counters, so that'd be outside of Veil of Summer how I would protect my Atali.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could,
cool.
but it's a decent one.
Yeah. Not bad to have a colorless option that can go in any deck. Like that's what I'm really liking about this set is this isn't a crazy card, but it gives things that aren't running green or white the ability to protect themselves. So like you could protect Magda with this. Like
Yeah.
mutated cultist. It is a 2 and a black creature Eldrazi horror. Devoid. When you cast this spell, remove all counters from up to 1 target permanent or opponent. The next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less to cast for each counter removed this way. Death Touch, it's a 1/3.
I don't think this is super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It has some really spicy plays if somebody is trying to like poison you.
Yeah.
Like I could see that be pretty funny.
Well, opponent, so you can't use it on yourself.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. It's not as cool as I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be.
I really what keeps this not good. Like I like it. I was the one that was like, let's talk about this. It doesn't have flash. If it had flash, it'd be much better. I understand why it doesn't have flash because of the Eldrazi commander. Like that'd be stupid if you could add to the stack.
Yeah, silly.
The only thing that I wanted to talk about this is it's very hard to remove experience counters from
Ah,
someone.
okay, that makes sense.
And this is the way that those commanders that just go, I have experience counters, nothing ever removes these. These are safe. They're no longer safe with Mutate Cultist. CEDH card, no. Really cool card if you are playing casually with somebody that does a lot of experience counters. It also removes counters from planeswalkers and it kills
Yeah.
them.
Oh,
So
okay.
you could just be like, I do not want Teferi to be active on my turn. I'm going to start out with a mutate cultist. It's 2 and a black. Let me take 3 counters off Teferi. My next spell that I cast this turn is 3 colorless less. So it's not really a free way to take care of that stuff. But you do have the ability to go, Om Nom Nom, Planeswalker gone, let me cast my next spell. I think, and I don't think that this is going to be main deck, but I could see Crick running it because it would be 2 and a black, so 2 colorless and 2 life. Eat something, and then cast my next spell in Crick, take away all the colorless, and just play life.
So when I'm looking, when you mention Planeswalker,
Yeah.
there is one Planeswalker that sticks out among all others that nobody likes to take care of. Stupid sushi deck.
Oh, yeah.
Tevish Zot.
Yeah.
So this is a good way to get a -6 to your next spell.
Yeah.
On Tevish, because Tevish is gonna be big.
Yeah.
Like I don't see people. He creates blockers. You have to hit him with flying or hope that the things are gone. I just interesting. Would I want a card to tech just for a Tevish deck? Probably not.
You can target your own Tevish.
Mind blown.
Yeah. So
Mind blown.
it's only opponents that you can, because you can't just play this and go, haha, no poison counters. But let's say you are playing Tevish and you're like, I'm kind of done with him. I've gotten my 2 cards. You drew Mutated Cultist and you're like, what I really need to do is Cyclonic Rift, but I only have 4 mana. You can go, oh, okay. Tevish is at, maybe the math doesn't work, but like let's say Tevish is at 7. For 2 and a black, I eat my Tevish. Then my overloaded Cyclonic Rift is only a white and a blue now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like it works on your own stuff. You don't really necessarily want to be eating your own stuff with it. So I do think it's too specific for CEDH, but I do like to keep in my backlog of like cards that I put aside if we start to see planeswalker decks where it's like I see them all the time, or if we start to see counter decks or experience counter decks, I like to know I have this card that I can tech in that a lot of people may not remember.
Do I think it's going to be top tier CEDH? Probably not. But could I see a deck that's pretty high powered, like, what is that, Hydra? I could see it being there. The Zexara.
When you said high power, Zigzara just left my mind. I'm sorry.
But no, I could see Zexara maybe eating an Ozolith or something.
Yeah.
And casting, I don't know, Exsanguinate for cheap.
Yeah, I mean, in our other review too, that Eldrazi lizard that goes crazy with counters and mana, you could eat it. Like if you can find a way to put a whole bunch of counters on something, you can spend a black, eat it, and then you get a finale of devastation that kills everybody. Like
Well, that Eldrazi or that lizard is probably going to be in Chatterfang.
yeah, and you just win the treasures on that.
I think that would just win it. And then, if you wanted to have a 0 cost, seemingly maybe like a 1 Exsanguinate for 500. That's a possibility.
I mean, swing with a giant Corvold, kill somebody, eat your own Corvold after Exsanguinate. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, it's tech.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a little too specific because if you eat your own Corvold and then your Exsanguinate gets countered, then you're like, ah, dang.
It's a card that might go through because nobody knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it stays in my mind, but it does not go into my decks.
Yeah, interesting.
Tempt with Mayhem. This is another one that I just thought was interesting. It is a 1 red and red instant. Tempting offer. Choose target instant or sorcery spell. Each opponent may copy that spell and may choose new targets for the copy they control. You copy that spell once, plus an additional time for each opponent who copied the spell this way. You may choose new targets for the copies you control. In my mind, I look at this and go, if I'm really afraid of something getting countered, I might just go, okay, I have 3 mana. I'm going to Tempting Mayhem. Uh, I will present this and go, hey, everybody, you guys can throw in 2 free counter spells and I'll throw in 3. like,
Mm.
uh, it's very specific. I'm sure there's very cool ways to use it. Like, let's say somebody mana ramps and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to attempt with Mayhem. Do we all mana ramp?
Hmm.
Cool. Well, I'm going to get 2 extra lands.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to place this in Krakashima in my head. I'm sure there's some good tech for it. I do think, other than just the counter um, potential,
Yeah.
it has more potential than that.
Yeah.
But I think this is a decent card.
Yeah.
I do. I think in a mono red deck, this could be really like something salt to put in.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, to bring it to Thassa's Oracle counter, tempting offer the Taint Pact and be like, all right, everybody look for a way to deal with this. Like,
Mm, yeah.
and then you get to Taint Pact your 3 combo pieces to your hand. And then you are the hero that becomes the villain on your turn.
It's like, well, I got what I needed.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I like that it involves a lot of cool it forces a lot of table talk. I don't know if it'll be CDH, but another one of those where I'm like, I want more people to know that this exists, so I want to put it out there as something to kind of put in your staple box, but maybe not put into a deck.
Not yet.
Yeah.
It may be the card that's needed hasn't been printed
Yeah.
exactly yet.
Unless this card just speaks to your soul and you're that type of person that's like, I'm running this, I know what to do with it. And if you know what to do with it, please let us know.
I was looking at it as a possible like maybe follow up with a free spell. So like let's say I get Tixian Probe with Krark and I use that. Maybe that works. And then somebody's like, well, I want to get Tixian Probe. I don't care what you look at in my hand, bro.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, most of Krark, you know what's in their hand after a few interactions. So I could see it. Do I know offhand right now if this would win me the game? It would get there.
Yeah. I mean, how fun would this be if you hit it in an Atali flip and you were like, oh, well, I'm going to copy this thing. You guys want to copy it? Cool. I'll get many copies. Like,
It says spell though, huh? So it's not necessarily an instant or sorcery.
well, target instant or sorcery spell.
Okay, each opponent may copy that spell. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't reading all the way.
Yeah. So like, let's say I hit like a copy Atali spell. I would be like, all right, I'm gonna copy this copy spell. So I'll get my trigger and an Atali trigger. Do you guys want to copy it? No, I spent 3 mana to do another copy spell. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's spicy.
Aurora Shifter, colorless and a blue. Creature, shapeshifter. Whenever Aurora Shifter deals combat damage to a player, get that many energy counters. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 2 energy counters. When you do, Aurora Shifter becomes a copy of another target creature you control, except it has this ability, and when this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. So first thing, no ETB copy. It just becomes a copy when it's already on the battlefield, and it has to be something that you control. So it's not the best. It's not what CDH normally uses clones for. However, it's interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna read it one more time to my to myself for a second. There's a lot of words on there.
Yeah, I'll read it again. So the ability is when Aurora Shifter deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. So it's a 1/3. So by default, when it deals combat damage, it's a 1. However, when you move into combat, if you pay 2, so it doesn't enable itself. So you have to use energy counters that are already out. It becomes a copy of another target creature you control, except it has the same ability. So you can turn into a 7/7 hit, and then you get 7 energy counters.
I mean,
And you can still copy it on your next combat.
I think if it had haste and it was a 2/2,
Yeah.
I think that it would be decent.
Yeah.
I think this is almost there
Yeah.
because another copy for like a Karakashima or a Dockside or um, any one of those type of cards is interesting. However, you have to own it, right? It has to be you
Yeah.
control, and then you don't have the energy
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
If you had, and if energy becomes a thing, I could see this be a bit more broken.
Yeah.
As of now, I think that the idea is
Yeah.
interesting.
Another one of those, not really what clones want to do in CDH. However, it is interesting. And if I pulled it from a pack, I would put it aside into my CDH staples where I would want to know where it is. Should it become relevant? I just don't know how to use it right.
Yeah.
Like you would have to change Kark Shakashima to incorporate more energy. The problem with it for me is you have to have the 2 energy to make it viable right away, which in CDH, like you're not gonna hit over 2 turns and on your 3rd turn be like, oh buddy. Like
And maybe at some point that the new energy gilded drake storm
yeah,
drake
yeah,
might make this a little more interesting.
yeah.
As of right now, I find it to be too niche, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that it's going to integrate into a bunch of things very easily.
Yeah. But do you want to know where it is if I
Yeah.
pull it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, and the art school.
Yeah, yeah.
Give it to them.
Final act. This is just I like it. That's why it's here. So final act: 4 colorless, black, black, sorcery. Choose 1 or more. Destroy all creatures. Destroy all planeswalkers. Destroy all battles. Exile all graveyard. Each opponent loses all counters. This is farewell, but destroy and black. So farewell is one of those like everybody in casual hates farewell, and they printed a black farewell.
I mean, I don't know if it would be easily ran in Crick, but
No.
but I do think that it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
I think that being that it's a sorcery, and the mana value of it, it's nice to have these because it's good. You're always going to feel good if one of these hits and you're able to do all of that. But realistically, blue's a thing too.
Yeah. I mean, really, like final act is the ideal situation is your crick. A Sissy is set up to win right now. You pay 4 colorless and 4 life, and you destroy all planeswalkers, and then everybody congratulates you. You smile, you pass,
And
and
lose.
then the next person wins because all of the planeswalkers is gone.
Yeah, and lose.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's
Sad time.
yeah, it's a you'll be the table hero, but you'll lose the game for Sisay and give somebody else a win. So
Again, if I had to say, the art is really pretty on this one as well.
yeah, yeah. I would not to just rub it in the face of the podcast listeners, but it's really cool. It's a whole bunch of skeletons that are holding hands in a circle and kind of dancing around a purple fire in a very spooky woods graveyard. It looks like a vintage 1940s Halloween poster, and if they make a print of it's going in my bathroom. So
I feel like the card was there, but the art is what made it
yeah,
on
yeah.
this.
Like lols that they printed a black felt farewell. I will love seeing the tears that everybody puts all over Twitter whenever they realize that this is a card. But yeah, other than that, just interesting, not good, not CDH worthy. Interesting. Sawhorn Nemesis, 3 colorless red creature. It's a dinosaur. It's here because it's a dinosaur purely. As Sawhorn Nemesis enters the battlefield, choose a player. If a source would deal damage to the chosen player or a permanent they control, it deals double that damage instead. It's a 2/4. So it's a big cost. It's 3 colorless and a red. However, it doesn't have to be a source the person that casts it controls. It literally is any source that would deal damage. So if they roll for Mana Crypt, that Mana Crypt does 6 damage to them if they roll wrong. The person that went before you, if they have set up for win and everybody's looking for an answer, you can play Sawhorn Nemesis, go, F this guy. We're all swinging on him, right? And then just, go off. It's really anything that just chooses a player only is not good in CDH because you don't ever want to invest 4 mana and go, let's kill this guy. And then you're like, well, now it's a 1v2 and I invested the energy in this, so I'm probably not going to win. But it's interesting. It's fun.
To me, they have a newer mono red commander that is all about damage. He's the flip card. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Tali, yes. The
It's
flip,
not,
the
well,
flip
it's
Tali,
not a
yeah.
Tali, man.
Yeah.
It's mono red. It's the
Oh,
god, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that would be interesting.
Yeah, we did see that in a tournament, and it did whip up on some tables.
I don't know if this card would make it more. No, the reason that deck wins is because it's not noticed at first.
Yeah,
I think this would be a big notice if you started taking, you know, what, like 4 damage every time
yeah.
you lose, or no, 6 damage every time you lose a mana crypt. And now this is also in red, which can copy creatures,
Mm-hmm.
and it's non-legendary.
Yeah,
Now maybe that's a thing too.
yeah. The
I
the thing, sorry to interrupt. The
you're good.
thing that comes to mind is there's a partner that I think its name is Kedis. It's the little newt. No, no, not Kedis Dissonant Mate. It's a little like newt.
It's a little fire lizard.
Yeah,
I
where
know
it
what you're
goes,
talking
if
about.
you would deal combat damage to a player, each player takes that amount of damage.
You just kill
So,
the whole table.
yeah, you could Sawhorn Nemesis, swing into somebody, do 20 damage to the other two as well. Like,
Yeah. I I think that this for a red burn deck is gonna be might be the card. They're like, this is gonna do it.
yeah, you'd have to find a way to like enable splash damage basically.
Which there is.
Which there are, but then it's like 2 card investment and also you have to get the damage. Probably not CDH, but also like lol. Like
I mean, to me though, that red deck, other than just winning out of nowhere with like a Thassa or a some other I win
yeah.
combo, like comboing out that red deck, and I can't think of the name offhand,
Yeah,
but
like I want to say Olamek, but that's not it.
it goes under the radar until you look at your life and you're like,
Yeah.
I've taken 15 damage this turn. Like, I'm not gonna have another turn.
Yeah, it's a deck that as everybody fights and bickers, it just stays in the back and stabs at your toes, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm feeling a little lightheaded, and you look down and there's a pool of blood. Like,
Yeah, I I think that this does what red does.
yeah,
It's burn, double damage type things. I like it.
yeah, it's fun. And now I think the rest are just crazy lands that are in the Everything Bagel Commander. But because they're lands, everybody can run them. So I wanted to talk about them. So this is Horizon of Progress. Tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. 3 colorless tap. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Colorless tap, sacrifice Horizon of Progress, draw a card. So it's a bad reflecting pool that you can tap and pay a life and add 1 mana of any type of land you control could produce. So it's no mana confluence. But there are decks that can make the generic costs of abilities on permanents go down. So the Fox Companion turns this card into pay 1 colorless tap, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped.
And
It's
I could see it.
interesting. Yeah, like I could see people trying to run that companion. I think it's a little bit too slow, but I think it would be a land that if I got out of pack, I definitely would want to set the card aside and know where it is for the future because I could see somebody figuring it out. And at the end of the day, like worst case, it's a bad reflecting pool. There are 2 color commanders. Like I'm building the Simic Frog. That because I run Hermit Druid, I'm really limited on my mana. So I've had to include a lot of colorless utility lands, but this one would let me get the colors that I need because it's not hard for me to get the colors. It would just be a bad turn 1 land, and if I keep a hand and this is my only land, I'm just bad at mulliganing. So
Yeah, I lands are kind of iffy too because sometimes they just won't get played even though you think they may be decent,
yeah,
and then other times it's like they're just they enable a combo or something and just make it. I don't know.
yeah. Like this is a prediction coming from me, but I think we're gonna see a lot more Hermit Druid decks.
Yeah, I can see that.
Green got that land that turns into something in your graveyard, and you could just surprise Hermit Druid somebody. So
Hmm.
in a place where I think we might start seeing more Hermit Druid decks, Horizon of Progress is good.
And Hermit Druid's green as well.
Yeah,
This whole set has given green a whole new arsenal to play with.
yeah.
Personally, in my opinion.
And then the problem with Hermit Druid is you telescope. You go, okay, well I have a creature. If I pass and it gets to my turn, I'm gonna Thassa's. But with the land, because the land exists before and it transforms, you can immediately tap it.
Mm.
So Lazotep Quarry, land desert, tap, add a colorless, sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color. X and 2, tap, sacrifice a desert, exile target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Activate only as a sorcery. This is a Rocco card. I already run a land that taps for a colorless. Tap, sacrifice a creature, gain 1 health or 1 HP back. Or gain 1 life. So this will. There is a land that people already run to sacrifice creatures that only gives 1 life back, and this is add 1 mana of any color, so already much better. And then you can tap 4 or pay 4, tap, sacrifice the quarry, exile dockside from your graveyard, create a token that ETBs.
Mm.
So like this will be a land that if you pull it, you definitely want to keep it. I think it's going to be like a 15 10 to 15, $10 to $20 land.
I can see that as well. Anything that, especially on a land where you can sacrifice a creature,
Yeah.
um, and you get a mana for it,
Mhm.
I think it's decent. And if you can't, you just have a colorless, which
Yeah.
is fine.
I mean it's there's a lot of creatures that the moment you sacrifice them, it cascades it to a point where you win the game. So it's a great way to sacrifice a creature where there are no responses possible because you can't counter the land. it's tap, you sacrifice the creature, and then you add 1 mana. So it's part of the land ability, which does not use the stack. Like,
It could see play in Corvold,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah, that's true. Because you draw a card off of that.
and get a mana.
Yeah,
So it's like a treasure almost.
yeah. I mean, it's just good. Like it'll find its way into a lot of different types of decks. I'm gonna put it in Rocco. If I still had Corvold together, I'd put it in Corvold, and that's just off the decks that I run. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Planar Nexus. Oh boy. So this is a land. Planar Nexus is every non-basic land type. It is a non-basic land type that includes cave, desert, gate, lair, locust, mine, power plant, sphere, tower, and Urzas. Tapped out a colorless, 1 colorless tap, add 1 mana of any color. This is just big because it turns on all of your Urza lands because it's every type that has been confirmed on Twitter by a magic designer. So I don't really know if we're going to see this as big in Commander because it's 2 cards that you're trying to assemble to get 4 mana on turn 2. Um, but, I think this is legal in Pioneer, and that is going to make the card a $30 card. So I feel like you could probably just buy the Simic Precon and know that Planar Nexus is going to give you at least half of the value back.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you really needed to, it's also a mana fixer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I think it's just solid. I don't know if it's going to game change any decks. I will say that it enables a lot of different plays um, from those land types.
Yeah, it's no City of Traders, but if you assemble the right lands, those 2 lands will tap for 4. So um, it's good. It's just not reliable in Commander. Maybe there are combos that exist outside of that where it makes it really good. But I think this is going to be just a staple in other formats that we can hold on to and maybe get some value out of them. Or there's a combo that breaks it that I just don't know about, and it'll be a good value card you want to step aside. Talon Gates of Madara. When Talon Gates of Madara enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature phases out. Tap, add colorless. 1 colorless, tap, add 1 mana of any color. 4, put Talon Gates of Madara from your hand onto the battlefield. So for 4, you can instant speed phase out a creature, which is basically a Thrasios trigger where you just go, nope, I'm going to put it out on the battlefield. It'll tap for colorless on my next turn, and I'm going to phase this thing out. I don't really see people using it like that too much because, I mean, if you have a 4 free mana to just dump into playing an extra land, you should be doing something else with that. However, let's say there is a stacks piece that you want to get rid of that you don't necessarily want to leave the game, like a Dranath Magistrate. You can play Talon Gates and go, I'm not getting rid of your Dranath Magistrate. You have no say over this. You cannot counter this.
Yeah, it's just there.
It's a land. I'm going to play this land. Your Dranath is gone. I'm going to get back my commander, but when I pass to you, your creature comes back. So it's a good way to remove a stacks piece that you want other people to suffer from eventually, but you don't want it to affect you. So I really like it.
It's almost a cantrip on a land,
Yeah.
which is silly because lands don't really get countered. Um, you put it out like you said, you take away that one creature piece that's kind of giving you problems, be it a Thalia, be it
Yeah.
a Drannith, could be a
Dothy. Yeah.
well, Voidwalker has Shroud, right?
So
Oh,
no, it
Shadow.
has Shadow, yeah.
Yeah, so you hit that as well.
I mean, a collector oof. Like,
Yeah, oof would be nasty.
it's a good way to go. I don't want this to affect me, but I also don't want to free other people up for the entire game. So like ideally you use it on the person that you're going to pass to, not the person that just went, because if you go Talon Gates, get rid of your collector oof, then three other people have their artifacts turned on, and maybe that's not the best use. But it is cool to just be like, I really do want my commander this turn. Let me play a land. Bye bye, Dranith. Pop, pop, pop. Like,
There's a lot of games that get stuck because of a stacks piece,
yeah,
and the option to um, possibly put this there and do it
yeah,
is huge.
yeah,
I think you'll see this. I I would say it should be probably the same price as that other land,
yeah.
if not a little more.
Yeah, I think it's really good too because like let's say you're in a color and there is that colorless option, but let's say you're in a color that cannot protect their commander. You can keep this in hand, keep 4 mana open, and whenever they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna swords your commander, you can pay for put a land out onto the field that does not come in tapped and phase out your own commander and go, you guys cannot mess with this till it's my turn. This guy's coming back. And while he would not ETB because of phasing, you can go like, I'm keeping my commander safe. If it gets to my turn, he'll come back and I have an extra land now. Like
It returns at your upkeep or what?
yeah. So
That's
it
interesting.
just removes it from the game until your next upkeep.
I like it.
Or maybe no, it's untap.
I
Because that way it can still
I
attack.
think it's before your main, so I
I
know it has to be before your main. I just don't know the exact timing of
Yeah,
it.
I think it's on untap because you can still swing with a phased out creature.
And if we're wrong, just
Yeah,
let us know in the comments.
yeah, because then engagement. So let's be
Yeah.
wrong more. Yeah. And that is all of the commander cards that we looked at from Modern Horizon 3 commander decks and either thought were interesting, thought you should put aside, or thought that they were going to see play. I'm pretty excited about the lands personally. What are you most excited about?
I think the lands are the big hitters.
Yeah.
I think the commanders themselves aren't are kind of lackluster. I feel like they're there, other than the Eldrazi,
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
is any Eldrazi though is going to be terrifying if it's summoned.
And
But
all of those lands are in the Simic deck. So
really,
yeah, I picked up the Simic deck because I was like, lands are good.
yeah. I mean, I see that commander might be good in a certain point too.
Yeah,
I just what it is at the moment offhand, I don't know.
yeah,
But I really like the set. I think the set's going to change a lot of stuff.
yeah.
I don't know so much about the commander decks. I
Hmm.
think that there'll be good additions. There'll always be the people that want those things, but
And
um,
they look really fun for casual, and at the end of the day, that's what they're designed for. So I think they're well designed, just
yeah,
well
to have
designed
fun.
where they're not broken. Which
Yeah, to have fun.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it, but um, yeah, I like it.
cool. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast. If this is your first episode, we have a lot more, and we will have a lot more. So please subscribe. And also, just please give us reviews, comments, all that stuff. We love the engagement.
For sure. And we'll I think now we have a spot on these where we try to read out reviews and kind of or not reviews but comments and try
Yep.
to answer things. So if you want to possibly be on an episode as far as your name and what you said, put something out and we'll say it.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. See
Have a
ya.
good day.